I'm gonna do the patches to you, or the god buffs to you. On her, shifting sands, you decrease the cooldown a little bit. You also get a little bit more damage on the last auto of Desert Fury. Nice buffs to on her. Does it make him as good as like Jingwei? CERN? Probably not, but we'll see. A slight Afro nerf. I don't think it affects her very much, but I think it's fine. Ares buff gets more intelligence off of building more cooldown rate. I think this is just to match the cooldown rate nerf. I think that's just going to be pretty even. Call to Arms also getting 2 seconds off once you put 3 points into it, or 5 points into it. Not very big because this is the last ability you max, but it's still something. There is a world where you actually max this third now, and then you just put a point into the ultimate, and then you leave it at 1 point. We'll see, because 40% just base level is really good. Hercules buff to Apotheosis, good. He needs more damage. This is a good start. Capri buff gets more protections on the pluck, which is going to pair really well with his aspect. Solar Flare is also getting a shift, I guess, because you're losing the duration, but you're gaining a little bit of cooldown. And then Scarab's Blessing, you're getting more intelligence and strength. I love this. This is awesome. Mordred buff, Cruel Strike. Is this the ultimate jab, or is this the big one? This is the one? Oh, okay. That's a lot of damage. 40 damage at level 5 is insane. Nemesis buff. I mean, those are good Nemesis buffs. Not massive, but good. I like this. Soul, you felt like you ran out of your passive so quick. I like that. Radiance getting more damage is fine. Disapparate coming up more often is good. Your basic attacks deal bonus damage if your target had 20% less protections. Okay, so this doesn't work on yellow numbers, I think. I'll have to test this one. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure. Lernaean bow is anti-heal. I don't think you're ever really building this, to be honest. Odysseus bow. This will just either replace Sunbeam bow, or it's just worse than Sunbeam bow. It's not really here or there. Boombas. You are probably building this every game, to be honest. You're probably building it every game. Kins is also broken. This is going to be built every game again. Kurt and I were talking about these two. They feel a little too underwhelming to be worth the cost that they are, especially when you can go a cheaper item for like 24, 2,500, and then with that extra 1,200 gold, you just start buying 3K pots. So I think that's the issue with these. Our ideas were either make every 3K cost more, or every 3K be less effective by like 10% or 15% or something like that, or 500 more gold, 1,000 more gold, something like that. But as is, I think these are just outdone by 3K pots. Teko Kage getting a nice little buff. I think jungler's damage is a little low right now, so most of these buffs are to jungler items. I do think there's a world where Oathsworn Sword is bought in ADC, but we'll have to wait for a little bit. Reaper is getting a good shift to it, which was a weird item before. Now it's back into a normal spot, I think is the best way to say it. You get it no matter what if you hit it, an enemy god, rather than just the god who's below it. The stacks are doubled, and you get less strength and less lifesteal. So it's just better, except if you take a fight where a guy's already low. So this is just a good buff to this item, because it also gets more strength. Hydra's getting 10 cooldown, and then also losing a tiny bit of strength, getting a little bit of cooldown, a little bit of cost. Perfect. This item didn't really have a great identity. I think it has an identity now as a lot of burst, a little bit of cooldown, a little bit of strength. Perfect. Brawlers getting a big shift. I think this is worth, but I think it's a little tough that this was like the cheapest strength item, and now there's just no really cheap strength items. But I think it's still a buff. Braggies losing 10 in intelligence, gaining 10 strength. I think Braggies is broken still, especially on characters that use the strength more than the intelligence, like on her. I think this is incredible for those gods. Bracer of the Abyss, really good for gods like Soul. I think Soul could see this, Zeus could see this, and it could be very, very good on them. Avenging Blade, getting a shift, but I think this is an item that's just not really that great. I just don't know when you're ever building this item. Very expensive, so you can't go it early. And then like good stats, but it's like an early game slanted item. Typhon's Fang getting a nice little buff, which I think it needed. Shifter Shield getting more love. I like Hyde's buff a lot. I like Sphere of Negation's shift a lot. This becomes a really interesting item where this is your go-to magical or intelligence and magical protections item. It's very expensive, but it's worth it if you get it online. Love the Eye of Providence addition. Killing wards, granting you 50 additional gold is awesome. Jade Scepter is cool. It gives a little bit of utility. It makes it slightly better as a utility item instead of just peel. Reducing their strength and intelligence. If you get blinked on by an ADC or an assassin and then you knock them away, this gives you counterplay to that. I think it's cool. Same thing with Screeching Gargoyles. Maybe it's a little broken, but I think it's cool. So I'm fine with it. Phoenix Feather, excited to try how this one's going to feel. Still a very, very, very long cooldown. And the passive is, at best, meh. I'm excited to try it, but I do think it is still a little underwhelming. Stampede, this is the best item in the game. You should have 2 of these every single game. This item is not okay. This item is actually not okay. This 60% you get instantly, crazy. Slow immunity, 20% attack speed. It's broken. It's not close. It's the best item in the game. You should have 2, maybe even 3. Hussar's Wings, another broken item. It's dependent on if they have slows. If they have a couple slows, this is going to be broken. Wish Granting Pearls also getting a shift. 500 health, 120 intelligence for 3,500 gold is so awesome. I love these shifts to items. Dagger of Frenzy getting also another shift. It's more often. You fight more often with it, but it's better. Hide of the Nemean, increase the passive basic attack reflect damage by 2.5%. And it also lasts for another second. And it's also 5% more. Awesome. Lifebinder being 15 seconds less is perfect. Yogi's is a nerf to the early game, but a buff to the late game. It's an interesting shift to say the least. I think it's overall a positive, but it's tough. We talked about the elixirs being able to stack. Good, but probably too valuable. Purification, you're going to see a lot more beads now. I don't know. I hate the buff to beads. Point blank. I just hate it. Phantom Shell's also getting 20 seconds off and also getting a buff, which I don't think it needed. Deathbringer's getting a buff of 10 strength and 5% critical strike chance. Not damage, just the critical strike chance, which I think is good for Deathbringer. Death Metal's getting 5 strength. I still think it's a little underwhelming as a crit item, but I think it's fine. Especially when you compare it to like Demon Blade, which is getting attack speed, strength, crit. And I think this is putting it into a solid spot again. Prophetic is getting a shift. Nothing's changing. The recipes are just changing from Captain's Ring to Legionnaire armor. Sunbeam Bow is getting a fat nerf. Apparently it's dead. I've not tried it yet, but apparently it's dead. And then lastly, Triton's Conch, you're getting 5 more strength from it, which is, I think, a nice little fix for it. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm excited to try the patch. There's a billion things that I want to try. 10 out of 10 for everything. I'm very excited for this open beta. Banger. Hyra's killed it.